The car was already burning when Amara saw the boy's hand against the window. She had 18 minutes to get to her scholarship interview, 18 minutes to escape poverty, 18 minutes to become the first person in her family to go to college. The folder in her hands held 4 years of perfect grades, 4 years of working double shifts, 4 years of one single dream: Stanford. But the boy was screaming. Amara didn't think about the interview. She didn't think about Stanford. She didn't think about the phone in her pocket, the one with all her documents, melting from the heat. She just ran, broke the window with her shoe, dragged him out as the flames reached the gas tank, held him while he coughed smoke and blood. When the ambulance came, she was already gone, running toward a future that no longer existed. What Amara didn't know, she'd just saved the son of the most powerful man in the city. And he was watching. Amara's alarm went off at 4:30 a.m., not because the interview was early, but because she had a shift at Garden Street Diner that started at 5. She moved quietly through the apartment. Her mother, Maria, was asleep on the couch, still in her hospital scrubs from the night shift. Amara pulled a blanket over her shoulders and left a note on the kitchen counter. "Today's the day. Love you." The diner was empty except for Mr. Kowalski, who came every morning for black coffee and wheat toast. He left a $5 tip on a $3 check. "Big day today?" he asked, noticing her carefully pressed blouse hanging in the back. "Scholarship interview. Stanford." "Stanford?" He nodded slowly. "That's a long way from here." "That's the point." At 10:47 a.m., Amara clocked out. Her manager, Ruby, squeezed her hand. "Go get it, baby. Show them what Southside girls are made of." The bus was late. It was always late. Amara stood at the stop, folder clutched against her chest, rehearsing answers in her head. "Why do you want to attend Stanford?" "Because I want to build systems that work for everyone, not just people who can afford them." "What's your greatest weakness?" "I care too much. I can't walk past someone who needs help." She checked her watch. 40 minutes until the interview. Plenty of time. Across town, Connor Mitchell woke up angry. The argument with his father had started at breakfast and hadn't really ended. It just ran out of room in the conversation. "Your grades are slipping," Richard Mitchell said, not looking up from his tablet. "Yale won't accept mediocrity." "I don't want Yale." "Then where do you want to go?" "I don't know. Somewhere that doesn't feel like another version of this." Richard finally looked at him. "This?" He gestured at the marble countertops, the floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the estate grounds. "You mean comfort? Security? Opportunity?" "I mean expectation." Connor pushed back from the table. "I'm not you, Dad." "No, you're not." The words hung in the air like smoke. Connor grabbed the keys to his car, the BMW his father bought him for his 16th birthday, the one that felt more like a leash than a gift. He didn't have a destination. He just needed to drive. He took Riverside Avenue because it was fast and empty. He was going 70 in a 45 when the light turned red. He didn't see it in time. The utility pole came out of nowhere, or that's how it felt. Metal screamed. Glass shattered. The airbag hit Connor's chest like a fist. Then silence. Then smoke. He tried the door. Jammed. The window wouldn't budge. The smoke was getting thicker, black and choking. He could taste metal in his mouth. Blood or fear, he couldn't tell. His phone was somewhere on the floor, out of reach. The car was tilting forward, the hood crumpled against the pole. Something was hissing. Something was dripping. He pressed his hand against the back window and screamed. Amara was half a block away when it happened. She felt the impact in her chest, a deep boom that rattled windows. She turned and saw the smoke rising, thick and black. People were already gathering, phones out, filming. Nobody was moving toward the car. Amara checked her watch. 18 minutes. She thought about her mother, asleep on the couch in her scrubs, about Mr. Kowalski's $5 tip, about Ruby saying, "Show them what Southside girls are made of." She thought about the essay question she'd spent 6 months perfecting. Describe a moment when you had to choose between what was easy and what was right. Amara started running, not toward the bus stop, toward the fire. Her folder hit the sidewalk. Papers scattered, transcripts and recommendation letters lifted by the wind and carried away like snow. She didn't look back. When she reached the car, the heat was so intense it felt like standing inside an oven. The boy inside was pounding on the window, his face streaked with blood. Amara pulled off her shoe, the one she'd polished that morning, and swung it against the glass. Once, twice, 3 times. The window spiderwebbed, then shattered. She reached through, unlocked the door, grabbed the boy under his arms, and pulled. He was heavy, heavier than she expected. Her hands were slipping, cut by glass, slick with blood. But she didn't let go. She dragged him onto the sidewalk just as the flames reached the gas tank. The explosion threw them both forward. Amara covered the boy's body with her own until the heat subsided. When she looked up, her phone was melting in her back pocket. Her white blouse was black with soot and red with blood. The boy was breathing. Amara heard sirens in the distance. She stood up, legs shaking, and started running again. Toward the bus stop. Toward her interview. Toward a future that was already gone. Amara arrived at the scholarship office 23 minutes late. Her hands were wrapped in her ruined blouse, blood seeping through the white fabric. Her face was streaked with ash. She smelled like smoke and gasoline. The receptionist looked up from her computer, eyes widening. "I'm here for the Stanford scholarship interview," Amara said, breathless. "Amara Williams. I know I'm late, but there was an accident. A car caught fire and I had to help someone and my phone. The committee left 15 minutes ago." The receptionist's voice was soft, apologetic. "I'm sorry. They have a strict policy about punctuality. Please, I've been preparing for 4 years. Can you call them? Can they come back? I can explain." "Ms. Williams." The woman stood, came around the desk. "I believe you, but the decision isn't mine. The committee chair, Dr. Morrison, she's very particular about protocol. No exceptions. There's a number I can call? Someone I can talk to?" The receptionist wrote something on a business card. "This is the emergency appeals line. Leave a message. But I have to be honest with you. In 5 years, I've never seen them overturn a missed interview." Amara took the card with shaking hands. "Thank you." Outside, she sat on the steps and called the number. It rang 4 times, then went to voicemail. "Hi, this is Amara Williams. I was supposed to interview today at noon for the Stanford scholarship. I'm calling because there was an emergency, a car accident. Someone was trapped and I had to help pull them out. My phone was destroyed in the fire and I have documentation from the scene. Please, I'm asking for another chance. Just one more chance. This scholarship means everything to me." Her voice cracked on the last word. She hung up and stared at her wrapped hands. The bleeding had stopped, but the pain was starting to register, sharp and hot. The bus ride home took 40 minutes. Amara counted every red light, every stop, every person who got on and off. She tried not to think about the interview questions she'd never answer, the campus she'd never see, the future that had slipped through her bloody fingers. Maria was awake when Amara walked through the door. "Baby, what happened to you?" Amara couldn't speak. She just stood there, ash on her face, blood on her hands, the smell of smoke in her hair. Her mother pulled her into an embrace. "Tell me." So Amara told her about the crash, the boy, the choice, the interview she missed, the voicemail she left. Maria didn't say anything for a long time. Then she kissed Amara's forehead. "You did the right thing." "The right thing cost me Stanford. Some things cost more than others. But you saved a life, Amara. That boy gets to go home because of you. And I get to stay here." The next morning, the email arrived. "Dear Ms. Williams, We regret to inform you that due to your absence from the mandatory scholarship interview on November 3rd, your application has been withdrawn from consideration. Per our program policy, no exceptions can be made for missed interviews, regardless of circumstance. We wish you well in your future endeavors. Sincerely, Dr. Patricia Morrison, Mitchell Scholarship Program Director. Amara read it 17 times. Each time the words felt colder. She called the emergency line again, left another message, then another. On the third call, a woman answered. Mitchell Scholarship Program, this is Helen. Hi, yes, my name is Amara Williams. I left messages about my missed interview. I was in an emergency situation and I have proof. Hospital records, police reports. I'm begging you, please just let me explain to someone. Ms. Williams, I have your file here. Dr. Morrison reviewed your messages. The policy is very clear, no exceptions. But I saved someone's life. That's admirable, but it doesn't change our policy. Can I speak to Dr. Morrison directly? She's unavailable. I'm sorry, but the decision is final. The line went dead. Amara sat on her bed, staring at the email on her phone. 4 years of perfect grades. 4 years of double shifts and borrowed textbooks. 4 years of being told that hard work and merit mattered. All of it erased by 16 words. No exceptions can be made for missed interviews, regardless of circumstance. Her mother found her there an hour later, still holding the phone. They said no, Amara whispered. Maria sat beside her, wrapped an arm around her shoulders. They didn't speak. There was nothing left to say. What neither of them knew was that across town, a 16-year-old boy was waking up in a hospital bed, asking the same question over and over. Who saved me? What's her name? I need to find her. And in a corner office downtown, Richard Mitchell was watching security footage on repeat. The girl in the white blouse running toward flames. The girl his institution had just thrown away. Connor woke up with questions no one wanted to answer. Who pulled me out? He asked the nurse. A young woman. She left before the paramedics arrived. What was her name? I don't know, sweetie. But she was very brave. His father sat in the corner of the hospital room, typing on his phone. Richard had arrived 30 minutes after Connor was admitted, still wearing his suit from a board meeting. Dad, did they find her? The girl who saved me? Richard looked up briefly. The police have her statement. She did her civic duty. You should focus on healing. Someone got hurt because of me, and you want me to just focus on healing? Connor, you were in an accident. None of this is your fault. But it felt like his fault. The argument, the anger, the speed, the red light he didn't see. On the third day, a security guard named Marcus stopped by Connor's room. You're the kid from the Riverside crash, right? Yeah. I pulled the parking lot footage. That girl didn't hesitate. Just dropped everything and ran straight into the fire. Marcus shook his head. Most people were filming. She was the only one who moved. Can I see it? Marcus glanced at the door. Come by the security office when you're discharged. 2 days later, Connor stood in front of 3 monitors, watching himself almost die. The footage was grainy but clear. The SUV hitting the pole, smoke pouring from the hood, people gathering at a distance, phones raised. Then her. A girl in a white blouse, running toward the wreckage. She didn't slow down, just pulled off her shoe and started smashing the window. Marcus froze the frame. See her hands? Bleeding. Glass everywhere. But she doesn't stop. Connor watched her drag him out, watched her cover his body when the gas tank exploded, watched her stand up and run away. Who is she? Police report says Amara Williams, gave her statement, then left, said she had somewhere to be. Connor took a photo of the screen. Thanks, Marcus. It took Connor 6 hours to find her address. The police report was public record. The neighborhood was 40 minutes away, a part of the city Connor had never visited. He borrowed a car from his father's collection. The streets here had boarded-up windows and cracked sidewalks. Kids played basketball on a court with no net. An old woman on her porch watched him with careful eyes. Connor parked in front of a 3-story apartment building. The paint was peeling. The stairs creaked under his weight. He knocked on apartment 2C. A woman answered, mid-40s, exhausted eyes. She looked at Connor's clean clothes, his expensive watch, and her expression hardened. "Can I help you?" "I'm looking for Amara Williams." "Who's asking?" "My name is Connor Mitchell. She saved my life 4 days ago." The woman's face changed. "You're the boy from the car." "Yes, ma'am." She studied him, then called over her shoulder. "Amara, someone's here for you." Footsteps. Then Amara appeared, hands still wrapped in bandages. She recognized him instantly. "You," she whispered. Connor's throat tightened. "You saved my life, and I just found out you lost your scholarship because of me." Amara didn't say anything. "Let me help," Connor said. "My father has connections. He can fix this." Amara's mother glanced between them, confused. Amara's voice was quiet, steady. "I don't need charity. I need fairness." "Then let me get you fair." "You don't even know who your father is, do you?" Connor frowned. "What do you mean?" Amara pulled out her phone, showed him the rejection email. At the bottom, in small print, Mitchell Scholarship Program. Connor stared at the name, his father's name. He's the one who said no. Connor sat across from his father at dinner that night. The table was long enough to seat 12, but it was just the two of them, separated by 10 feet of polished mahogany. "Dad, I need to talk to you about the scholarship program." Richard cut into his steak, didn't look up. "Which one?" "The Stanford one. The Mitchell Scholarship." "What about it?" "There was a girl, Amara Williams. She missed her interview." "Then she didn't get the scholarship. That's how it works." Connor pulled out his phone, turned it toward his father. The security footage played on the screen. Amara running toward the burning car. Amara breaking the window. Amara dragging Connor to safety. "She missed her interview because she was saving me. Your son. And your program rejected her." Richard glanced at the video, then back at his plate. "I'm sure there were circumstances. The committee handles these decisions. I don't interfere." "She called. She left messages. She explained everything. And someone sent her a form letter." "The committee chair follows protocol." "She followed protocol right off a cliff." Connor's voice rose. "This girl had a 4.0. She worked 2 jobs. She was perfect. And your committee threw her away because she was 20 minutes late saving someone's life." Richard set down his fork. "Connor, I understand you're grateful, but we can't make exceptions every time someone has a story. If we did, the entire system would collapse. It's not a story. She saved my life and you punished her for it." "I didn't punish anyone. The committee applied the rules fairly." "Did they?" Richard's eyes narrowed. "What does that mean?" Connor didn't answer. He left the table and went to his room. It took him 3 hours to find what he needed. His father's office was locked, but Connor knew where the spare key was hidden. He slipped inside at 2 in the morning and opened the filing cabinet marked Scholarship Committee, Internal. The minutes from the past 3 years were organized by date. Connor photographed every page. September 2023. Motion to grant extension to applicant Jennifer Hartwick. Missed interview. Father is Senator Hartwick. Approved unanimously. March 2023. Motion to waive academic probation for applicant David Carter. 2.8 GPA. Father is Carter Technologies CEO, major donor. Approved 4-1. November 2022. Motion to reschedule interview, 4th time, for applicant Madison Pierce. Mother is Pierce Media Group founder. Approved unanimously. 7 exceptions in 3 years, all for children of wealthy donors. But Amara Williams got nothing. The next morning, Connor dropped the printed pages on his father's desk. You did make exceptions, just not for her. Richard looked at the documents. Where did you get these? Your filing cabinet. You made 7 exceptions in 3 years. Those were unique situations. Unique how? Because their parents donated money? Those families have relationships with the institution. That's how philanthropy works. Donors support programs, and in return, their kids get special treatment, while girls like Amara get form letters. Richard stood. You don't understand what it takes to keep a program running. Those donors fund scholarships for dozens of students. If we alienate them over one missed interview, so money talks. That's the principle. I'm defending sustainability, the real world. No. Connor's voice was cold. You're defending hypocrisy. You give speeches about equality and opportunity, but when it matters, you bend rules for rich people and break poor people with them. That's enough. Senator's daughter gets 4 chances. The CEO's son gets his probation waived, but Amara Williams, who saved my life, gets nothing. Explain how that's fair. Richard's jaw tightened. You're too young to understand. I understand perfectly. I just can't believe you're okay with it. This discussion is over. Connor walked out. But Richard didn't move. He sat down slowly, staring at the committee minutes. He opened his computer and pulled up Amara Williams's application file. GPA 4.0, SAT 1520, essays outstanding, work history 30 hours per week while maintaining straight A's. He clicked on her personal statement. I want to build systems that work for everyone, not just people who can afford them. I grew up watching my mother work 2 jobs. I watched classmates drop out because they couldn't afford books. I watched talented people disappear because they didn't have the same opportunities as wealthier families. Technology can change that. Systems can change that. But only if the people building them understand what it's like to be left out. Richard read it twice. Then he picked up the phone and called the committee chair. Patricia, tell me about the Amara Williams rejection. The girl who missed her interview? She was a no-show. Left a voicemail about some emergency, but we can't set a precedent. Did anyone verify her emergency? We don't typically follow up. The policy is clear. Even if the emergency was legitimate? Patricia hesitated. The policy doesn't distinguish. If we start making exceptions, where does it end? Richard looked at the committee minutes. 7 exceptions, all for donors. I see. Thank you. He hung up and sat in silence. Then he did something he'd never done. He called Amara Williams directly. The phone rang 3 times. Hello? Ms. Williams, this is Richard Mitchell. I'm the founder of the scholarship program you applied to. Silence. I understand you experienced an emergency on the day of your interview. I'd like to offer you a one-time hardship grant, $5,000. It won't restore the scholarship, but it's something. More silence, then quietly. I don't want charity, Mr. Mitchell. I earned that scholarship. The selection process has concluded. This is the best I can offer. Then your best isn't good enough. Her voice was steady, final. Thank you for calling. The line went dead. Richard stared at his phone. In 30 years of running institutions, building programs, making offers, no one had ever hung up on him. He sat back in his chair and realized he had no idea what to do next. Across town, Amara set down her phone. Her hands were shaking. Her mother looked at her. Who was that? The man who owns the scholarship program. He offered me money. How much? 5,000. Maria's eyes widened. Baby, that's... It's not enough. And it's not what I earned. Amara's voice cracked. He's trying to buy me off, make the problem go away. Maybe he's trying to help. If he wanted to help, he would have given me what I earned. Not charity, not guilt money. She looked at her bandaged hands. I saved his son's life and he offered me scraps. Maria pulled her close. I'm proud of you. For what? Losing everything? For knowing your worth. Connor found Amara 3 days later at the Riverside Community Center. She was tutoring middle school kids in math, her bandaged hands moving carefully across a whiteboard. She saw him through the window, and her expression hardened, but she finished the lesson. When the kids left, she met him outside. What do you want? To apologize. I thought I could fix this. I was wrong about my father. Amara crossed her arms. You tried. That's more than most people would do. There has to be another way. Another scholarship. Another school. I've applied to 14 programs. That was my only full ride. She looked away. I'll figure something out. Community college, work full-time, maybe transfer in 2 years. That's not fair. No, but fair doesn't pay tuition. That afternoon, a local news station picked up the story. Someone had posted the security footage online with the caption, "Hero loses scholarship saving life." By evening, it had spread through the community. The video showed Amara running toward flames while others stood back filming. It showed her dragging Connor to safety, collapsing afterward. The comments flooded in. People were angry. People wanted to help. Small donations started arriving at the community center. $50 from a retired teacher, $100 from a local business owner, $200 from a church group. Within 3 days, the fund reached $3,400. Amara's mother cried when she saw the total. People are good, baby. Some people are good. It wasn't enough for Stanford. It wasn't close. But it was something. Amara wrote thank you notes to every donor. Her hands still hurt, but she wrote them anyway. Across town, Richard Mitchell sat in his office watching the news coverage. The anchor called Amara a hero. The reporter asked why the scholarship program hadn't helped her. His assistant knocked on the door. Sir, people are calling, asking why we didn't make an exception. The optics aren't great. What are they saying? That policy matters more to us than people. Richard turned off the television. We offered her money. She refused. That's not the story they're hearing, sir. Richard stared at the blank screen. He picked up his phone to draft a statement, but his hands stopped when he tried to explain why the rules mattered more than the girl who'd saved his son. He deleted the draft, started over, deleted it again. The invitation arrived by courier. Thick cream paper, Mitchell Academy letterhead, embossed seal. Miss Amara Williams, you are cordially invited to meet with Richard Mitchell regarding an educational opportunity. Wednesday, November 15th, 10 a.m. Amara's mother read it twice. He wants to meet you. I know what he wants. He wants me to go away quietly. Baby, maybe you should listen. Hear what he has to say. I already know what he's going to say. He's going to offer me something that looks like help but comes with strings. But Maria's eyes were pleading. What if it's real? What if he changed his mind? Amara looked at the community center fund total on her phone. $3,400. Not even enough for 1 semester. Fine, I'll go. Mitchell Academy sat on 40 acres of manicured grounds. The buildings were red brick and ivy, the kind of campus that appeared in brochures about the American dream. Amara rode the bus for an hour and a half to get there. Richard's office was on the top floor of the administration building. Floor-to-ceiling windows, mahogany desk, walls lined with degrees and awards. The room was designed to make visitors feel small. Richard stood when she entered. Ms. Williams, thank you for coming. I almost didn't. I appreciate that you did. He gestured to a chair. Please, sit. Amara sat. Her bandaged hands rested in her lap. Richard returned to his desk and opened a folder. I've reviewed your case extensively. What happened to you was unfortunate. Unfortunate. That's the word you're using. Poor choice. What I mean is, I understand the circumstances were beyond your control. Then why didn't your committee understand that? Committees follow rules. Rules exist to maintain fairness across all applicants. He slid a document across the desk. But I'm prepared to make you an offer. Amara looked at the paper. Contract. Legal language. Her name at the top. Full scholarship to Mitchell Academy. 4 years. Room, board, tuition, books. Everything is covered. Amara's heart stopped, then started again, faster. There's a catch. Not a catch. A partnership. Richard leaned forward. The scholarship comes with a public relations component, media appearances, promotional materials. You'll be the face of our redemption story. The girl who we helped after the tragedy. It's good for you. Good for us. Everyone wins. Amara read the contract. The words blurred together until she reached page 3. Recipient agrees to participate in approved media events and promotional activities. Recipient agrees to refrain from making negative public statements about Mitchell Academy or its programs. Violation of these terms will result in immediate termination of scholarship and repayment of all funds disbursed. You want to use my face to cover up what your system did wrong. I'm offering you an education. Most people would be grateful. Most people didn't earn it like I did. Richard's expression hardened. Ms. Williams, I'm trying to help you, but I can't do that if it's going to be difficult. Difficult. Because I won't smile for your cameras and pretend everything's fine. Because you won't accept a generous offer that solves your problem. Amara stood. It doesn't solve my problem. It buries it. You get to tell people you helped the poor black girl. I get to smile and say thank you while you pretend your system isn't broken. The system isn't broken. It's just not designed to bend for individual circumstances. It bent 7 times in 3 years, just not for me. Richard's face went pale. How do you know that? Your son told me, Senator's daughter, CEO's son. All of them got exceptions. But I get this. She tapped the contract. A leash disguised as an opportunity. That information is confidential. The truth usually is. Richard stood, his voice cold. You're making a mistake. This offer won't come again. Good, because I wouldn't accept it if it did. Amara turned to leave. Wait. Richard's voice stopped her. Take the contract home. Think about it. Talk to your mother. She'll understand what this means for your family. Amara looked back at him. Don't use my mother against me. I'm not. I'm asking you to think practically. Pride doesn't pay bills. This scholarship does. She left without responding. At home, Maria read the contract 3 times. Her hands shook. Baby, this is a full ride. Mitchell Academy is a good school. It's not Stanford. Stanford said no. This is saying yes. With conditions, Mama. Look at page 3. I can't say anything bad about them. Ever. One wrong word and I lose everything. Then don't say anything bad. What if they do something bad? What if other students get treated the way I did? I just have to stay quiet? Maria set down the contract. I can't tell you what to do, but we have $400 in the bank. The community fund has $3,400. That's not even 1 semester anywhere. This is 4 years. Free. It's not free if it costs my voice. Sometimes we have to compromise. You raised me not to. Maria's eyes filled with tears. I raised you in a world where we can't afford principles, where people like us take what we can get and say thank you. I can't do it, Mama. Then what are you going to do? Amara didn't have an answer. The signing was scheduled for Friday. Richard had arranged for the media to be present. Local news stations, the school paper. It was supposed to be a feel-good story, a redemption arc. Amara arrived at 10 o'clock wearing the same white blouse she'd worn to the interview, the one she'd washed 3 times to get the bloodstains out. The office was crowded. Reporters, cameras, Richard's assistant with a fake smile. Richard stood behind his desk. The contract sat in the center, pen beside it. "Ms. Williams, welcome. We're so pleased you're here." The cameras turned toward her. Lights flashed. "Before we begin," Richard said, "I'd like to say a few words about second chances and the importance of helping young people overcome adversity." He spoke for 5 minutes. The cameras recorded every word. Then he gestured to the desk. "Amara, if you'd like to come sign." She walked forward slowly. Her hands were shaking. She picked up the pen. It was heavy, expensive, the kind of pen that signed important things. She looked at her signature line, at the cameras, at Richard's satisfied smile. Her hand moved toward the paper. The door burst open. Connor stood in the doorway, breathing hard. "Wait. Don't sign. Everyone needs to see something first." Richard's face went dark. "Connor, this is not the time." "It's exactly the time." Connor pulled out his laptop. "Before anyone signs anything, you should all know the truth." He plugged the laptop into the projector. The screen lit up behind Richard's desk. And the real story began. Connor's hands moved quickly across the keyboard. The projector screen filled with documents. "This is the Mitchell Scholarship Committee minutes from the past 3 years. Public record. I filed a Freedom of Information request." Richard stepped forward. "Connor, stop this right now." "No. Everyone here should know what kind of program this really is." He clicked on the first document. September 2023. Jennifer Hartwick missed her interview because of family travel conflicts. Her father is Senator Hartwick. The committee voted unanimously to reschedule. She got 3 more chances. The reporters started murmuring. Cameras shifted toward Richard. Connor clicked again. March 2023. David Carter. GPA was 2.8. Failed to meet academic requirements. His father is the CEO of Carter Technologies, major donor. The committee waived the requirement. Richard's face was red. Those situations were entirely different. Different how? Connor pulled up another document. November 2022. Madison Pierce. Missed her interview 4 times. Rescheduled every time. Her mother owns Pierce Media Group. She got the scholarship. Connor turned to face the cameras. 7 exceptions in 3 years. Every single one for children of wealthy donors. He pulled up an audio file. "This is Amara Williams' voicemail to the emergency appeals line, recorded the day after her missed interview." He pressed play. Amara's voice filled the room, shaky but clear. "Please, I was in an emergency room. I have documentation. A boy was trapped in a burning car. I had to help. I'm begging you, just give me one more chance." The room went silent. Connor clicked again. Another document appeared. This is the response she received. Quote, "Policy does not permit appeals. The decision is final." Sent 2 hours after her voicemail. He pulled up the security footage. Amara running toward flames, breaking the window, dragging Connor out, the explosion, her covering his body with her own. This is what she was doing while Jennifer Hartwick got her 4th interview, while David Carter got his probation waived, while Madison Pierce got another extension. A reporter raised her hand. "Mr. Mitchell, how do you respond?" Richard's jaw was tight. These are complex institutional matters being oversimplified. Donor relationships require different considerations. They fund scholarships for dozens of students. "So wealthy families get flexibility," the reporter interrupted. "But a girl who saved a life gets nothing?" Another reporter jumped in. "Did you watch this footage before making your decision?" "Of course. I'm grateful. But gratitude and institutional policy are separate matters." "Are they?" Amara's voice cut through the noise. She stepped away from the desk, away from the unsigned contract. "Or is policy just what you hide behind when it's convenient?" The cameras swung toward her. I didn't come here asking for special treatment. I came here having earned what you promised. Merit. Excellence. Opportunity. Those are your words, Mr. Mitchell. They're on your website. Your brochures. She picked up the contract, held it up. This isn't an opportunity. This is hush money. Sign here, smile for the cameras, never say anything that makes us look bad. Richard stepped forward. Ms. Williams, you're mischaracterizing. I'm reading your own contract. Page 3. Recipient agrees to refrain from making negative public statements. You want to buy my silence and call it generosity. The room erupted. Reporters shouting, cameras flashing. Connor walked to Amara's side. I'm sorry I didn't see this sooner. I'm sorry my father built a system that pretends to care about fairness while rigging the game. Richard looked at his son. You're making a mistake. No, Dad, you made the mistake. I'm just showing people what it looks like. Amara set the contract back on the desk, unsigned. When you're ready to actually fix your system, not just paper over it with PR, you know where to find me. She walked toward the door. The reporters parted. Connor followed. Richard stood alone, cameras still recording. The contract still unsigned, his narrative crumbling. His assistant touched his arm. Sir, this is going live on 3 stations. Richard watched Amara disappear down the hallway, her head high, her dignity intact. His phone buzzed. Text from a board member. Emergency meeting, tonight. Then another. Donors are calling. They're not happy. Another. This is a disaster. Richard looked at the projector screen, still showing the 7 exceptions. 7 times he'd bent his rules for money and power, and the 1 time he'd refused to bend them for courage. For the first time in 30 years, Richard Mitchell didn't know what to do next. The story went national by evening. #Justice. For Amara trended on social media. The security footage had been viewed 2 million times. News outlets across the country picked it up. Scholarship program exposed for favoritism. Hero denied while rich kids get passes. Richard's phone didn't stop ringing. Alumni were furious. Donors were threatening to pull funding. The board called an emergency meeting for the next morning, but Richard sat alone in his study, watching the coverage on repeat. He saw himself on screen, stammering about institutional considerations. He saw Amara walking away with her head high. He saw his son standing beside her instead of him. Archive footage played next, a speech he'd given 10 years ago at the program's founding. Merit matters, his younger self said. In this program, we don't care about your last name or your bank account. We care about your character, your grades, your potential. We believe in equality of opportunity. Richard turned off the television. The house was quiet. His wife was visiting her sister. Connor hadn't come home. Richard poured himself a drink and sat in the dark. Around midnight, he heard the front door open, footsteps in the hallway. Connor appeared in the doorway. I didn't think you'd come back tonight, Richard said. I didn't plan to, but we need to talk. If you're here to tell me I'm a hypocrite, I've heard it from everyone else. I'm here because I need to understand. Why did you do it? Richard looked at his son. Do what? Build something good and then corrupt it. You created that program because you believed in fairness. I've read your speeches. I know you meant it once. Richard was quiet for a long time. It's complicated. Then uncomplicate it. Richard set down his glass. When I started the program, I had nothing. No donors, no funding, just an idea. But ideas don't pay for scholarships. Money does. And money comes with strings. So you sold out. I made compromises. There's a difference. Not to Amara there isn't. Richard's jaw tightened. That girl hung up on me. I offered her $5,000 and she refused. It wasn't an opportunity, Dad. It was a bribe. You were trying to make the problem go away without actually fixing anything. I was trying to help. No, you were trying to protect yourself, your reputation, your institution. You weren't thinking about her at all. Of course I was thinking about her. Then why didn't you give her what she earned? Why the contract? Why the conditions? Richard stood, walked to the window. The estate grounds were dark, empty. You don't understand what it takes to run an institution. Politics, the compromises. If I alienate the donors, the whole program collapses. Dozens of students lose their funding. So one girl gets sacrificed so dozens can benefit. That's the math you're using. That's the reality. It's a coward's reality. Connor's voice was hard. You taught me to stand up for what's right. You taught me that character matters more than convenience. But when it actually cost you something, you chose convenience. I chose sustainability. You chose power. You chose comfort. You chose a system that works for you. Connor stood. I watched that footage 20 times today, Dad. I watched her run toward fire while everyone else ran away. I watched her drag me out. I watched her cover my body with hers when the car exploded. His voice cracked. She didn't think about the cost. She didn't calculate the risk. She just did what was right. And you punished her for it. Richard turned from the window. I didn't punish her. You did. You built a system that says her courage is worth less than a senator's donation. You looked at her bleeding hands and said, policy doesn't permit exceptions. The committee made that decision. You let them. You're the founder. You have the power to override them. But you didn't. Not until the cameras were rolling, not until your reputation was on the line. Richard sat back down, suddenly exhausted. What do you want from me? I want you to be the man you told me to be, the man who gives speeches about merit and fairness. That man is an idealist. The world doesn't work that way. Then change the world. You have the power. You have the platform. It's not that simple. It is exactly that simple. You just don't want to pay the price. Richard looked at his son. Connor was 16, but in that moment he looked older, wiser, more certain than Richard had felt in years. If I make exceptions for her, every rejected applicant will demand the same. Good. Let them. Review every case. Look at the circumstances. Build a real appeals process. The donors won't accept it. Then find better donors. Find people who actually believe in what the program is supposed to stand for. Richard rubbed his face. You're asking me to dismantle everything I've built. I'm asking you to rebuild it the right way, or admit that everything you've built is a lie. Connor walked to the door, then stopped. I used to be proud to be your son. I used to think you were someone worth admiring. Prove to me I wasn't wrong. He left. Richard sat alone in the dark. The next morning, he didn't go to the board meeting. He went to Amara's neighborhood. He found her at the community center, tutoring the same group of kids. She looked up when he entered, surprise flashing across her face. Mr. Mitchell. Ms. Williams. Can we talk? Privately? She excused herself and led him to a small office in the back. If you're here with another contract, I'm here to apologize, not as the founder of an academy, as a human being. I was wrong. Amara studied him carefully. Wrong how? Wrong in every way that matters. I built a system that was supposed to reward merit and then corrupted it with money. I made exceptions for people who didn't need them and denied them to people who did. I watched you save my son's life and then let my committee throw you away. He pulled out a handwritten letter, placed it on the desk. This isn't a contract. It's an apology and a promise. Amara picked up the letter, read it slowly. Dear Ms. Williams, I was wrong. I built a program on principles I failed to uphold. I bent rules for the powerful and broke you with them. I offered you charity when you earned justice. I tried to buy your silence when I should have amplified your voice. I am sorry. What follows is not an offer. It's what you're owed. The letter detailed everything. Full scholarship to any university that accepted her. Mitchell program would fund it. No strings attached. No PR requirements. No morality clauses. Beyond that, systematic reforms, committee restructuring, emergency appeals process, blind review to eliminate donor bias. You don't have to accept this, Richard said. But whether you do or not, these reforms are happening. You were right. Policy was what I hid behind. I'm done hiding. Amara looked up from the letter, tears in her eyes. Why now? Why not when I called? Why not when Connor asked? Because I was a coward. Because I valued my comfort over your justice. Because my son showed me that the principles I taught him mattered more than the compromises I made. He stood. You asked me what changed. The truth is nothing changed. I just finally looked at what I'd become and couldn't pretend anymore. Richard walked to the door, then turned back. Rules protect institutions. Conscience protects humanity. I forgot which mattered more. He left the letter on the desk and walked out. Amara sat alone, reading the letter again. Her hands were shaking. This time they weren't wrapped in bandages. They were free. 2 weeks later, Richard Mitchell stood at the podium in Mitchell Academy's main auditorium. The room was packed. Students, faculty, media, board members in the front row. Connor sat in the third row beside Amara and her mother. 30 years ago, I founded the Mitchell Scholarship Program on a simple principle. Merit matters. But somewhere along the way, I lost sight of that principle. I allowed money to influence decisions. I bent rules for the powerful and broke them against the powerless. He paused, looking directly at Amara. 3 weeks ago, Amara Williams saved my son's life. She ran toward fire while others stood back. She gave up her future to preserve his, and my institution responded by sending her a form letter. Murmurs rippled through the audience. Today, I'm announcing the Amara Williams Emergency Equity Initiative. Any scholarship applicant facing a documented emergency will receive an automatic extension and holistic review. The committee is being restructured to include community members. Donor influence will be separated from selection decisions. He held up a document. This is our new policy manual. It's not perfect, but it's honest. And it's a start. The auditorium was silent. Ms. Williams, would you join me? Amara walked to the stage. Richard handed her an envelope. This isn't charity. This is what you earned. Stanford University acceptance letter. Full funding. The room erupted in applause. That evening, Amara sat on her apartment steps with her mother. You're really going, Maria whispered. I'm really going. I'm so proud of you, baby. Amara leaned her head on her mother's shoulder. I thought I'd lost everything. You didn't lose anything that mattered. You showed the world what courage looks like. Across town, Connor found his father in the study. The board approved everything, Richard said. The reforms, the funding. Good. Richard looked at his son. Thank you, for being braver than I was. Connor sat across from him. You did the right thing in the end. Does it count enough? Ask me again in a year, when we see if the reforms actually work. At the community center, news spread quickly. 3 other universities announced similar programs. Local students started applying in record numbers. Amara returned every dollar from the community fund, asking donors to give it to the new equity fund instead. One note went to Mr. Kowalski. Your $5 tips helped me believe someone cared. Now I get to help others believe the same. 6 months later, the day before leaving for Stanford, Amara returned to Riverside Avenue. Someone had placed a memorial at the intersection, a plaque on the utility pole, where courage met opportunity. Connor was already there. Thought you might come here, he said. I needed to see it one more time. Any regrets? Amara looked at the spot where the car had burned. None. You? Not anymore. They stood in silence. Thank you, Connor said, for saving my life. Thank you for helping me save my future. 1 year later, Amara's dorm room at Stanford overlooked the quad. Her computer science textbooks were stacked on the desk beside a framed photo of her mother. Her phone rang. Richard Mitchell's name appeared on the screen. How are the studies? He asked. Challenging? Perfect. Good. I wanted to tell you we have 47 students in the equity program now. Thought you'd want to know. That's 47 futures changed. Thank you for actually doing it. Thank you for showing me it needed to be done. At Mitchell Academy, Connor now led the youth outreach program. He worked with students from Amara's old neighborhood, helping them navigate applications and essays. One girl asked him, "Did your dad really change his whole system for one person?" Connor smiled. He changed it because one person showed him what he'd lost sight of: conscience. Split screen. Amara in a computer lab at Stanford, coding. Richard reviewing equity program applications, approving 3 more emergency extensions, both working to create opportunity. Amara's voiceover. People ask if I regret missing that interview. I don't. Sometimes the best opportunities come from the hardest choices, and sometimes the most powerful people just need someone brave enough to show them a better way. Fade to black. Text overlay. Every year, talented students lose opportunities due to circumstances beyond their control. Institutions can do better. We all can. Share this story. Demand fairness. Create opportunities. Final card. Based on the belief that kindness, fairness, and opportunity should be accessible to everyone. If this story moved you, hit that like button and subscribe to Black Tales Stories for more stories about ordinary people doing extraordinary things. Drop a comment below. Have you ever had to choose between doing what's right and protecting your future? Let's talk about it.